What's up, AP Human Geography students? This is a video on the second part of topic 2 of Unit 6. Real big topic. The first part of the topic, you should know things related to the economic sectors of the economy. So you should know things like primary sector jobs, secondary sector jobs, tertiary, and the 2 Qs, and be able to connect them to things like the core periphery model, the DTM, types of development today, and we'll come back to those later on. The second part of this topic, of topic 6.2, looks at where factories used to locate several hundred years ago around the time of the Industrial Revolution, and where they locate today, and what factors they consider. So like if you were running a business today, where would you locate some of your production? Where would you locate your factories today? And where would you have done it several hundred years ago? So let's get into it. We'll circle back to this slide in a little bit. Starting off, manufacturing is a key term that is used not only in this unit but throughout the course, and some students, they scratch their heads, they draw a blank. You need to know what manufacturing is, so I'll help you out with that. When you think of manufacturing, you should think of factories. Now, the factory today looks very, very different than from the factory of the Industrial Revolution times, but I give you some just basic AI generated examples there. People tend to think of the smokestacks and some carbon emissions going into the atmosphere and workers inside making things. Today it might look somewhat different because you have more robots and AI doing some of the work and more conveyor belts. But manufacturing, what should pop into your head, something like you see here in a factory. One of the things we're going to focus on today is where manufacturing facilities locate and how we can connect it to the model that revolves around Wallerstein, right? The core, periphery, and semi-periphery model. So when you think about those things, you should think about infrastructure, right? In some of the top countries in the world in terms of infrastructure are your core countries, right? I put a couple pictures in there. You should think of countries that have the best break of bulk points. A break of bulk point is a place where a good or service is put onto a different type of transportation. So you see the picture here at the bottom right. This is a port, maybe Los Angeles. I'm not quite sure where, but this would be considered a break of bulk point, a place where you could transfer goods and services from a ship onto a truck or a plane or something else. The countries that have the best break of bulk points are countries where businesses want to be, because it's the easiest to ship your goods back and forth. So moving on, we're going to go back in time a little bit. The first thing we're going to look at is around the time of the Industrial Revolution, where did companies used to locate their manufacturing plants, their factories? And so the guy who studied this, who walked around and he tried to figure out why factories were located where they were, was a guy by the name of Alfred Weber, or Weber, whatever you want to call him. He was very much like von Thunen. Von Thunen would walk around and try and figure out why farmers were putting their dairy farms near the markets, so on and so forth. A little different. Alfred Weber tried to figure out why factories were where they were. And so he classified different operations into bulk reducing operations and bulk gaining industries or operations. So to help you understand the difference between the two, a bulk gaining industry, this is an example of a bulk gaining industry. So think of a product that gains weight during the time comes from the primary source jobs to the time it's sold to the consumer. So you might see Coca-Cola there and these big steel beams and microwaves, and you think of like refrigerators. All of those things come from small components. A refrigerator or a microwave, it comes from pieces of heavy plastic and metal. You got all those apart. They don't weigh that much, but when you take all those plastics and computer chips and different steel elements and you put them together to make a fridge, to make a microwave, it's going to weigh a lot more. That finished product is going to weigh more than where it starts from. Same thing with pop, like Coca-Cola, Sprite, any soft drink out there. That starts as an empty bottle. You have the water here, the empty bottle. You put it together, it becomes a finished product. So what Weber theorized is that because this product gains weight in the process, because it becomes heavier, you're going to want to locate your bottling plant or the plant that's making the microwave. You're going to want to locate that plant as close to the market as possible. The thing he considered the most, and this is very important, the thing that Weber considered the most, transportation cost. Companies are going to try and keep their transportation costs as low as possible. So with a bulk gaining industry, those companies, because their finished products weighs a lot, locate close to the customer. Vice versa, a bulk reducing industry, a couple examples here. This was taken right from your textbook on the right. You think of lumber or copper when it's extracted from the ground, primary source activity, right? Primary sector job. When it's extracted from the ground, copper comes out very bulky, very heavy. Same thing with a cut down tree. As that tree is cut down into 2x4s, 4x4s, things like that, it loses weight in the refining process. You don't need to know this word for word, but this is essentially how copper is burned down and the impurities are burned off to make a finished copper pipe like this. It weighs less. So what Weber theorized there is that these products that lose weight, hence the term bulk reducing, it loses bulk through the process, they become, because they weigh less at the end, you're going to want to locate your factory close to the raw materials. You want to locate your factory closest to when it's heaviest. That's what you want to think about here. If there's couple takeaways here from Weber's model, it's that Weber considered transportation costs the most important thing for businesses, and businesses are going to locate that manufacturing facility, that factory, as close is where where it's heaviest, where their product's heaviest. So bulk gaining, it's heaviest at the end of the process. Bulk reducing, it's heaviest at the beginning of the process. Hope that makes sense. So moving on. Remember, this is a couple hundred years ago. You think about what's changed with transportation costs. It's just like von Thunen's model. You think of von Thunen's model, we have refrigerated ships, we have refrigerated trucks, just refrigerators in general. You think about massive cargo ships today that can cross the Atlantic Ocean in a number of hours. You think about over-the-road trucks that could go from the Midwest out to the West Coast, in a 1-2 day trip. That's not what Weber was thinking about years ago. Today, because transportation costs are so much lower, companies can locate their factories throughout a region, if not throughout the world. They don't have to be as close to their either raw material, right, bulk reducing, or to their customers, bulk gaining. They don't have to be close to those people anymore or to their resources. They can locate them. This is a couple of the things they considered here. They consider these things today. They consider their input costs. Yeah, transportation costs are still important, but you know what the number one concern with companies is today? It's labor costs. So if you're a manufacturing facility that might only need the average high school, like a high school graduate, you're probably going to locate your production facilities maybe in the American South, maybe in some of the more rural regions, like these white areas. It's not skin color here, it's just a map, but these whiter areas on the map. If you're a company that's looking to hire people to do a tertiary, quaternary, or quinary sector job, you're probably going to look to locate your company somewhere near these blue parts of this choropleth map because you're looking for more skilled labor. So today, manufacturing has to do not so much with transportation cost, but it has to do, they're going to go to places where the wages are lower, so they could hire more workers at a lower wage, where there's less government regulation, maybe where governments will offer them lower tax rates, or where the land is cheaper. So today, businesses consider a lot of different factors, not just transportation costs like Weber thought of. These you should be able to connect to ESPN. You think about this, you should be able to connect the P in politics to things like tax rates because governments set tax rates. Environmental laws, you can connect that to the environment and to the government. They regulate the environment and what you can put into the earth in terms of pollution and things like that. Moving on. Another term you should know here, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place and I apologize for that. When you think back to Weber's time, companies mainly located to be close to their market or to be close to their raw material. A great example of this, when you think about some of the earliest cars that were produced, they were produced by Henry Ford and the Ford Motor Company. He picked Detroit, Michigan. It's not like he just blindly threw a dart and said, oh, it's Detroit. We're going to put my company in Detroit. The reason he put it in Detroit is he's close to the Great Lakes, easy access, waterways to ship products, to ship goods and services, and also close to the Midwest. Places like Pittsburgh and Ohio, which were major steel producing areas. Ford needed steel and iron to produce his cars at the time. So what did other companies do? They agglomerated. Agglomeration is when other companies will go close to one another. It keeps their costs low and allows them to get the same steel and iron that another company is getting. Helps keep your transportation costs low. So going back through this, few things you should know. You should know what Weber's model is and how it connects to things like break of bulk points, right? Break of bulk points like you see here. How Weber's model connects to bulk reducing industries and bulk gaining industries. When it's a bulk gaining industry, you're going to locate near your market. You're going to locate where your product's the heaviest. When it's a bulk reducing industry, you're going to locate near an your raw material because that's where it's the heaviest. Today, you should know how the landscape's changed. You should know how today it's a variety of factors like wages, government laws, government policies, and land cost. You know, a good example here, if we look at factory jobs, you look at this and you would think, all right, I see California, I see Illinois. They have some of the highest factory jobs in the United States. Yeah, but if you look at the scale, if you went deeper into Illinois on a deeper scale, you know, more of a county scale here versus a national scale or a state scale, you would see that the vast majority, the more blue the color, that means the more manufacturing jobs in those areas. What you're going to see here is that outside of Chicago, you don't have nearly as many manufacturing jobs. Because Chicago, you have more tertiary, quaternary, quinary sector jobs. On the outskirts, the periphery parts of the state, you have more manufacturing jobs, jobs for people in like the secondary sectors. Okay. Weber's model still does hold a little bit true. Weber is like, you're going to locate near your raw material. This is some of the major coal producing regions of the United States. On the right, you see coal plants. This is a dot map. The bigger the dot, the more coal plants there are. Obviously, you got more dots in the Midwest and on the East Coast. That's where you still find coal. So you still see some connections here to Weber's model that still ring true to this day. One question here. You can pause the video if you want. Environmental laws, labor availability, and access to markets. Those are major factors affecting which of the following. Pause the video. See if you can answer it. Correct answer should be D, manufacturing locations. Guys, that's the whole essence of this second half of the topic. So let me go back here. Second half of the topic of 6.2, you should be able to answer this. Today, where do manufacturing facilities locate? What do they consider? What did they used to consider? Weber's least cost theory. Okay? Hope this helps. If you got questions, let me know. Talk to you guys later.